You right now.
The 1620, The Zone.
Mike Ferrin, Sirius XM MLB Network Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, now singing the Mike Ferrin Open, it's Mike Stibbs.
Just make sure it sounds sexy, Stibbs.
Lord Almighty, how can you stand Arizona? Your fair skin must be burning down into your absent soul. Mike, 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 we can barely hear you. It sounds to me like you called us from inside a hole. But your phone calls lift me higher, like the ERA of Mark Pryor. Your hair looks like it's on fire. You're Mike Ferrin. You're just a hunk of
As
burning
promised,
love.
we have a week filled of day baseball for us. Right now, we've got quite the contentious little matchup going on between Miami and Atlanta. 4-3.
I thought it was Florida.
Oh, that's right, the Florida Marlins. That's
Well,
right, because they represent the Florida man in a way that few franchises ever can.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 4-3 Marlins in the bottom of the fourth inning. Hello, Mike.
Mike.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm good, man.
What is with?
It feels like he has something planned.
Yeah, who's
No,
Gary just got devoured.
it was Florida man that got me. We are all at the mercy of Florida man.
Yeah.
Are you
sadly.
excited for Astros versus Marlins for the 2020 World?
The COVID Bowl for the piece of metal. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, you get the villain there against the plucky little upstart. Sure, why not? I think that'd be great.
Lucky little upstart.
They've never lost a playoff series. Why not?
Never.
Why not keep that thing going?
You can see John is not bitter at all.
No.
He was fine Friday when we talked. I don't see why that would change now.
Perfectly normal. Everything is well. All is well.
It's great, Mike. I got Stibbs here who bring up Patrick Mahomes, and he goes on a 5-minute rant about how he's the luckiest guy in the whole world and maybe worse than Hitler. I got John
you
over.
said that.
Whoa.
Those words did not come out of my mouth.
That is a really bad take, by the
I
way.
know.
Patrick
I agree.
Mahomes. That guy's awesome. I don't watch football, and I can tell you Patrick Mahomes is awesome.
Shut up, Mike.
I got
See,
John over
here
here
we
complaining
go.
about the Marlins. Meanwhile, my Dallas Cowboys are garbage. So there you go. That's what's going
Well,
on.
that's what you get for rooting for Cowboys fans. Hey, at least your favorite football team didn't pass on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson to take Mitch Trubisky, so
True.
it could be worse.
And yet the
Could be
Bears
worse.
still have 2 games better record than the Cowboys. So
Well, yeah, but one of those was against the Lions, and so
Yeah, Dallas has lost to all good teams. All
yeah,
good
but their
teams.
only win was a fluke. So
But they've lost.
aren't they tied for first with 1 win in the NFC East?
They're a half game out because the Eagles tied in week 3.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're right there.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
anything
yeah.
can happen.
It's a long season.
well, this game, of course, going on. It's about halfway over right now. But I was going to ask the question, who needs this game more? Because the Braves, obviously, they've got the offense, but the pitching depth has been a little suspect. Alcantara pitched well last week, albeit against a offensively inept team.
Mhm.
Who needs this game more, Miami or Florida? Or
I think
Atlanta.
I think Miami does, and I think it's because as the series moves on, if it goes 4-5, the balance, I think, starts to come into play more, because while the Braves don't have great starting pitching depth or great starting pitching, really, they've got 2 good starters in Fried and Anderson. Their bullpen is really good, and it's better than the Marlins. And the Marlins are thin because of the Urania injury. So once you get past Sixto Sanchez in Game 3, you start going into rookies like Rogers and Braxton Garrett, and those are good pitching prospects, but they're left-handed pitchers who have command problems against a right-handed dominant lineup that can mash like the Braves do. I really think that the Marlins need to, they can't be in a position where I think they even have to split those games. They have to kind of play to win all 3 of these if they can. And that's their best bet, is to sweep, because I think otherwise the Braves offense is really good. And I think as good as the Marlins starting pitching is, I think that the Braves offense will carry the series.
Mike, putting a bow on the wild card round, was there a team that lost, or maybe just a performance overall that you found most disappointing?
Minnesota. I don't think it's even close. I mean, I think that's a really good team. I think disappointing is just kind of like a bummer more than anything. Really good team, really close-knit crew, really good people involved in that organization. And to watch them go down the way that they did, especially with no offense, that to me easily was the one that was the most disappointing and the most stunning, really. I mean, I think that's the one that really, hurt. I thought that was a team that had a chance to make a run in the American League playoffs. I think they're a very, very good team. I think they had the arms that could have matched up, as you got deeper into the series, and just they didn't get any offense. And that's really shocking because that's been a great offensive team the last 2 years. So easily, I think the Twins are the most disappointing.
Did it surprise you, Mike, that Aaron Boone went with David Garcia to pitch Game 2 tonight? And how much of that was based on the fact that the Yankees won last night? Do you think this would have been the play had New York lost last night?
Well, he made the call before the game, so I think that probably didn't factor into it. Okay. But Joe Girardi raised a really good point with us today in talking about Game 3 in a 5-game set is kind of the most important. Either your back's against the wall and you need to win, or you've got a chance to move on, or it's a pivotal game. Like when you're tied at 1, it's a pivotal game. That was one of Joe Torre's things. Joe Torre always felt like Game 4 was the most important one in a 7-game series, and I think that there's some merit to that. So maybe part of it is that you can put Tanaka in Game 3. You have the veteran presence there in the most important game. And with Garcia, it does give you a little bit more flexibility in that, we know that Tampa Bay likes to run out line shifts. So can you go once through with Garcia and then flip to a lefty and try and force Kevin Cash's hand to, take advantage of matchups there, which might leave him a little short later in the game. And so I kind of get it. I understand it. And Garcia has thrown the ball pretty well overall. So I'm really curious to see how he does. If you get a chance to watch him, he's fun. He's got better command than you would expect and a better idea of how to pitch than you would expect a young guy. He's not just some, fireball or whip it up there, see what happens. He's got an idea of what he's doing. He's pretty impressive.
Who is in more trouble, A's or Rays?
But that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think the Yankees lineup, the way it's swinging it, is going to be really difficult to curtail, but you start to get to a point with the Rays now where they're going to run a lot of right-handed pitching at them the rest of the way. And I think that kind of shifts things a little bit. It's a very right-handed Yankee lineup. And I do think that the Rays with the power stuff, especially with Glasnow tonight, can take advantage of that. There are a couple things that concern me with Oakland. One is their infield defense. It was a really good defensive team when Matt Chapman was on it. Jake Lamb's not a great defender at third. Tommy La Stella isn't a great defender at second. And so I think that potentially has an impact on them. And I think that they're still trying to find another guy who can swing the bat consistently. Now, Chris Davis has had a good postseason so far, and I think that's part of the answer there, but they need to find a little bit more offensive consistency. So, it's tough for me to say that the A's are, because they were clearly the better team over Houston over the course of the season. I guess I would choose the Rays, but I don't think either of those series are close to being over at this point.
Mike, a couple weeks ago, we were theorizing, just with no off days, who that could benefit and who that would not benefit. Now that we've gotten to this point where it really is going to start ramping up, which team do you think does most benefit from this and which one is going to be hurt?
Well, the Dodgers are in the best shape because they just have the deepest roster. And I think beyond that, Tampa Bay has the deepest pitching staff. So I think that probably, those are probably the two that are least impacted by it. In terms of teams that have the toughest time, I think it's the ones that are short on starters. I think Houston, will have a tough time if they have to play 5 days in a row. I think Atlanta will have a little tougher time. I think, the Marlins starting pitching is really good, but it's 3 guys, and then their bullpen is just kind of okay. I mean, it's a lot of veteran guys, but not a ton of bat missers. And, I think that could run them into some problems in a longer series. So I think the teams that have the depth of pitching, are the ones that are in the best position. And to that, Atlanta's carrying 15 pitchers in this round. This year they were allowed to carry 28 players in the postseason. 15 pitchers is a lot. And they're going to try and match up as many innings as they can because they know that their bullpen is their strength and they're going to have to cover a lot. So maybe that makes it a little bit easier on them. But I definitely think that it's just, you take a look which teams are the deepest pitching wise, and they're going to be the ones that are in the best shape.
And on that note, the submariner Darren O'Day has come in here in the top of the fifth for Atlanta as Freed's day is done after 70 pitches, giving up 4 runs on 6 hits. Struck out 4, didn't walk anybody, so he made the Marlins earn it. But he is done early today.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to keep in mind with that is that, they probably are looking at Fried on short rest for Game 5. However, there's a lot of risk in clipping a guy an inning earlier than you wanted to just to get him ready for a game that may not happen. I don't remember when that may have ever happened before. 2007 Chicago Cubs with Carlos Zambrano in Game 1. I don't remember a time where that may have happened where maybe a manager pulled him early for a Game 4 start that may or may not have ever happened. Did they get swept by the Diamondbacks in that series, John? I forgot.
You talk about another trust fund baby franchise, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean,
and anybody who works for them too.
Yeah, and your little dog too.
Wait a second. We're going to call the Diamondbacks a trust fund franchise, but you're going to absolve the Ricketts of that?
They invested their money.
Right? Oh, right. Yeah.
They invested their money. And now they're merging with Charles Schwab, so it's all good.
Does that mean Charles Schwab will own the team?
No, I think the Ricketts still own the team, but at this point, they may need a little help from Charles Schwab because they have to pay us some contracts here pretty soon. I just looked at the Padres lineup. Mike Clevenger is pitching tonight. That decision had not been made until just recently. So at least it's good news for the Padres to have the guy they traded for available tonight against the Dodgers in Game 1.
Still no Dinelson Lamet, though, for them in this round, and that's still a concern. And I think not having one of those guys was, if they hadn't had both, it would have been a really, really difficult time for them to beat LA. I think it's still, the chances are not great, just because they're going to thin out pretty quickly. And Chris Paddock hasn't thrown the ball well. I mean, that was their opening day starter. He got knocked around in Game 1 of the wild card series. He did not have a good year. He's got to figure it out fast against LA. It's not the lineup that you want to face to try and figure it out quickly. So hopefully Clevenger gives them a boost tonight and they can keep things close with LA, but he also hasn't been on a mound in almost 2 weeks, and I'm really curious to see how deep he actually can go in the game. The last time he pitched, he threw 1 inning and then had to come out with bicep soreness. So,
Mike, you think 14 or 16 teams is the more likely expanded playoff?
14. Yeah, I think 12 or 14 is far more likely than 16. I don't think anybody really has the stomach for 16. I think they want to convince themselves they can create a scenario where the regular season still matters, and so playing for the top record gets you some sort of a bye in the opening round. But the problem with this, as soon as they got moving down this train down the tracks, is that you were going to have to get out of the way of it, because the only thing that matters is how much money you're going to be able to make, and the most amount of money that they get for television is from the postseason. That's why it was so important that they played the postseason. They could recoup most of the regular season games anyway, but Fox pays for jewel events. And so, being able to play the League Championship Series and the World Series, and why they shifted to a semi-bubble and all of these things are because that's where the vast majority of the money comes from for TV, is from the postseason. So expanding postseason means more potential revenue, means more days like we had last week, where we had 8 games on it, which we'll get a 6-game day potentially, which I mean, from a one-off standpoint, I love it. From a standpoint of, the fact that you feel like you're cheapening one of your product's great strengths, I think that's one of the issues. I mean, that's the thing that baseball hasn't figured out yet is, as much as they pay lip service to the idea that the regular season matters, their greatest feature of this is that it's every day for 6 months. And so how do you find a way to be able to take advantage of the fact that you have 10 times the inventory that the NFL has, and twice as much inventory as the NBA and the NHL, and really close to those numbers, even if you were to reduce the number of games over the course of a regular season? I think that there are ways that they need to consider that try to take better advantage of that, because you want people to be able to be engaged for those 6 months. That's how you really generate a sustainable audience, one that is going to provide you with money going forward, not just the quick fix of being able to make an extra $500 million or whatever in the postseason. It's easy to say because we all have $500 million laying around.
Patrick Mahomes does. I mean,
Pat.
Sorry, Pat.
I mean, I learned today from CNBC that if you make $400,000 a year, you're only upper middle class in major cities and not wealthy. So there's that. So
Does Phoenix count as a major city?
I believe so, but I also don't make $400,000. And upper middle class at $400,000 a year. That would be a pretty nice. That's a nice middle class.
I'd take it.
So we're all lower middle class here.
Okay. Well, we are in radio.
I wouldn't say, oh.
Take out the middle.
Sorry, Stib.
We are lower middle class. Stibbs is somewhere else.
All right, Mike. Well, it should be a fun week. This game
Should it?
gotten off to
Oh, you mean baseball watch? Yes, definitely.
yes. I don't think anyone's getting sick this week, and the debate this week is between two people that probably won't go off the rails like last week. So
Never say never, John. It's 2020. Anything can happen.
Don't make any promises.
I like your optimism.
I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna play the optimist. The Cubs have now been eliminated, so my optimism can return.
Yeah, they just need Dunston just needs a few more years to develop. They'll be fine.
You're such a terrible person.
Yes, I am.
All right, Mike. Well, have yourself a great day. Almost. Freddie Freeman almost tied the game. Not quite.
I'm a little bit behind you guys. Wait, hang on. Let me see. You can see it over my shoulder.
Yeah,
now.
we can.
Oh, yeah. God. Freddie Freeman almost tied the game.
Oh, well. All right. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye,
All
Mike.
right, sounds good. See you guys.
There he is, Mike Ferrin of Sirius XM MLB Radio. And if you couldn't tell by his homerism, the Diamondbacks Radio Network. Sad news we just found out. Eddie Van Halen has passed away. His son, Wolf, just tweeted it out about 15 minutes ago. The great guitarist of the band Van Halen, the namesake of the band Van Halen, passed away. He had cancer. I think he was 64. But someone tweeted out, I did not know that he had this patented. But, one of Eddie Van Halen's things was to play the guitar like it was on a table. He had a patent for a gimmick that you put on your guitar that allowed him to wear a belt, and it flipped the guitar up so he could then play it like this. And there's a picture of the actual patent, and he invented this so that he had a chance to do this in the band. But Eddie Van Halen has passed away. Sad to say. Great band. I don't know anybody that doesn't like Van Halen.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
I figures Josh
not a Van Halen
has
guy.
terrible takes on
Never
music
got it.
anyway.
I just don't like that style of music.
I don't really
Rock music?
I don't
No, the
like hair metal.
yeah.
or
I just
hair
I'm
bands.
not into hair metal.
It wasn't all hair metal.
It wasn't. That's the thing.
Most of their
because
early
I'm
stuff
not
wasn't
really
hair metal.
either, and I'm not. I wouldn't call myself a Van Halen fan, but there are like a handful of songs that are really good, and I really enjoy.
Like Jump is fine.
See,
But
that
I'm
one
not
I
gonna
don't
rain
like.
on the parade. Just don't bring me into this conversation.
That one I
I'm,
don't
I'm
like so
sad for
much.
you and others, but I'm not gonna like crap on him. I don't know anything. I just never got into Van Halen.
I'd never known anyone that didn't like Van Halen.
Oops.
Figures.
They're just not cool enough for me, in the words of Steve Simple.
Uh-oh.
Oh God.
Uh-oh.
Now you've done it.
Uh-oh.
I didn't even do anything.
Now you've done it.
Oh yeah, we're talking about it right now. Josh is crapping all over him.
Okay, no.
Josh, never mind.
That's the reason why Josh started crapping on. Josh won't crap on people until they're dead.
I literally didn't crap on him. You said I don't know anyone who doesn't like them. I didn't even say they're bad. I just don't like
And then
them.
Josh made his face.
I just don't like them. Why'd you bring it up? I just don't like them.
Because I literally have never met anyone that doesn't like Van Halen.
Well,
now I have.
If you don't like Van Halen, tweet at
I
John.
don't
So
think
now
I've
I'm not
ever
on
had
an
the
island.
conversation. But
Yeah,
they're kind of like
I'm not a hair metal fan.
They're not a band that
yeah, but
like
they
had.
really weren't hair metal.
See, but I've only heard the hair metal stuff, so I just never wanted to get into the other stuff.
They like. I'd never met anyone who was like a staunch fan, or like they were kind of like an easy band to just kind of like.
Yes. No, you're right.
Like you said, there are very
You're
few
exactly
people
right.
who were like, "Oh, I hate those guys."
Yeah, and I don't hate them.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like there was just like a, yeah, okay, that's good. Like, good. It worked very well for the radio, which was great for his success for sure.
Yes, it was.
He was a hell of a guitar.
He's considered one of the greats, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
He kind of he was one of the first to like really make the the tapping thing, like in
which
Eruption,
is why he invented the
Yeah.
thing I described, because it allowed him
It
to
allowed him
really
to kind of pull it up and see what he was doing, but he didn't even have to do that because he was one of the ones that made that cool and like in the mainstream to do that quick. I'll play Eruption as a bump or something. You can hear it. It's pretty neat.
All right. Well, we have more to come, including we're going to go back in time today. Today is the anniversary of the 5th down. And I went down into a rabbit hole today. And I'm telling you, there was stuff about this, how this was allowed to happen. I'll just put it to you this way. It involved a dead guy.
I'm not going to make the joke that you kind of just walked us into.
This was 30 years ago.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. You can make the joke about this.
Steven said, smoked weed for the first time to Van Halen. And Josh, you're a squid. How could you not
squid?
like Running with the Devil? LOL.
I didn't even realize that was them. Running with the Devil's fine. It's an okay song. I don't hate it.
Oh, you didn't know that was them?
No.
That's the other thing,
See, that's the early stuff.
Yeah.
with the Devil.
Growing
That's
up,
early
I'd
stuff.
hear songs and not realize it was Van Halen.
Yeah.
Because
So maybe
no
I
one
kinda
really
like Van
talked
Halen
about
then.
Van Halen.
I'm
It was
glad,
weird.
I'm glad you said that, because there are a lot of songs that are probably 20 years old now.
Yeah.
Where if you would have, I don't know who sings them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I like that song. So if you would have said,
Yep.
yeah, this band did it. Oh, really?
I heard
wouldn't
Panama
know.
100 times before
That's
I
Van
realized
Halen?
it was Van Halen.
I like Panama.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, see that
I
we're
like-
in the same
There we
boat.
go. Okay.
I'm not a
I
fan.
just don't like
but I
Jump.
like a
I
handful.
think Jump is a bad song.
Jump is a
So
bad
that's
song.
the first song that always comes into my
What?
mind.
I don't like Jump either.
Oh, now
The synth garbage? No,
It's
I'm just
corny
so
as
out.
hell.
Yes, I'm just so
Yeah.
out on that style of music.
Go ahead and jump.
I am
Yeah.
so glad the Cowboys are 1 and 3. They need to go 1 and 15. You offend
Jump
me.
could
You
have.
offend
If I would have
me.
said Van Halen's the best band of all time, you would say like, I'm happy Dallas is 1 and 3.
Well, that's true too.
There you go.
But now I'm really happy.
Jump is bad.
It sounds like
Oh.
Madonna should have done Jump.
Might as well jump.
But Josh tried. I don't crap on him. He had millions of
Yeah,
other good songs.
Exactly.
That one's just not great.
R.I.P.
You guys are going.
You
And I
walked
bet he
me
didn't.
into
I bet
this,
he didn't
man.
even write that one. That was probably.
That's right. And you voluntarily walked through the door and
Hey.
started crapping all over Eddie Van Halen.
Shane, not our Shane or
9/11 Shane.
9/11 Shane. A different Shane says, "Don't worry, I'm in the same boat as you." And Adam says, "Same." So there we go. There are dozens of us. But R.I.P. I'm sad for you and
Dozens of
others who liked Van Halen. I'm sad. I'm sad for you.
Mhm.
I'm not like rooting. I wasn't rooting for this.
I didn't say you were.
No. I have some DMs I could dig up.
Yeah. Well, not about. Zip. Zip.
That Van Halen character,
I swear I got it.
One day.
By the way, did you know his name was Edward
Yeah, what's the how do you say
Lodwick?
that?
It's either Lodwick or Lodewick Van Halen.
Yeah.
Lodewijk. Very,
Lodrich.
I think it
Where's he
could
from?
be. Well,
Sure,
it's like
sounds
that's very Norwegian.
Yeah.
The what do they call the countries that are?
I'm
up
trying to
there?
think. Scandinavian, right?
Scandinavian.
Yeah.
very Scandinavian. Lodvik. That's probably how it's pronounced.
Mhm.
All right. Back after this, we're going to offend more people on next on 1620 The Zone.